You are not Papu, so you help me with this. You are not Papu. Okay, now, pergi kat YouTube. Buka YouTube, tengok.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we begin, several reminders. Please make sure you find yourself. You have 7 minutes and 15 seconds. To the audience, please mute your telephone. And does every team consent to recording? Okay, recording. Okay. Media, okay? So without further ado, debating the motion that was announced just now, we invite you to can we please close the door?
So everyone has their own favorite athlete, right? Every country has their own super popular athlete. Like take Ronaldo, take Lee, they're super adored by fans. Okay, so what's our statement for it? So today, athletes are encouraged to play until they're old and not popular anymore by the companies. Right? So what's the problem with that? It's a problem for athletes because it could take a toll on their health. Right? So our solution is that we want to encourage athletes to not be scared to quit when they're at the peak. Okay, so our burden is to prove that stopping when they're at their peak isn't a waste, but actually beneficial to those athletes themselves. Okay, so I'm going to go through my presentation, which is so stopping from going ahead is that it doesn't mean that they're stopping completely. It doesn't mean they're actually like going to stop the sport completely. Okay, it's like, but rather they're gonna get out of the spotlight that was created for them because sometimes it could take a toll on their health, just as I said before. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what the opposition might say today. So they could say, so athletes aren't going to be financially stable at their peak. Okay, but I don't think that's true. Why? Because usually for international athletes, even state athletes, right, they get a lot of money just from playing. They get like, I don't know, maybe thousands, okay, just with one tournament or something. Right? So they will also have ways to continue, maybe entrepreneurship if they're interested in it. Movie studios could also reach out to them if they had like inspiring stories. For example, Lee, right? Okay. And they could also say like, they could say like, it's not like they could still win. They could like, it's such a waste for them to stop now, right? But that's not true because you can't guarantee that they'll win those other matches if they go ahead. If they keep going. Okay, not to say that if they lose they're gonna lose their worth. But sometimes it's better to stop at their peak. Okay, so now I'm gonna go through my arguments, which is first is that I want to say that it essentially acts as a protest to companies that have been monopolizing those talents. Okay, so my first reason is that companies are known to push athletes to the brink. They push them and just force them to train for those tournaments, for that tournament, because like they want fame, they want money, everything, right? So it's not good for those athletes. It could tire them, right? It could take a toll on their health. It could give them depression and anxiety and so many other things. Okay, this also applies to fans, right? Because they would just keep pressuring athletes to go and not stop because like fans there could be fanatics, alright? Because sometimes fans could be toxic, right? So you can't. So that's not good for the athletes, especially when they're also online, and they can see when fans are criticizing them and so on. Okay. And it also could show other athletes to be brave and that the fact that they can go against those fans and those companies, they don't need to be stuck in the same position for years, right? Okay, so what are not saying their time as an athlete, their time in that company was not fulfilling. Yes, they could be fulfilling, but they were forced to train. Okay, maybe they weren't forced, but they were told to train for hours and hours. Okay, sometimes they would not have time for their family, for their girlfriends, for their wives, for their friends, right? So it would take a toll on their mental health also when they're not being allowed to spend time with other people frequently, right? It could, yeah. And my second argument is that it will give them more opportunities, like coaching, or they could start entrepreneurship if that's what they're interested in, right? So what's the reason? Because some athletes could be interested in other things, right? They could be interested in painting. They don't need anything, because they can still make money with that. They can still make money with that because they already have the fame. They already have fans. So with fans, they could go so far, even if they're not in that field anymore. Okay, even if they're gonna start being a coach, maybe they're tired of the spotlight that was given to them. Maybe they don't want the fame anymore, right? They could be tired, so they can go coach, so that they don't actually have to go out there and actually talk, fight and be vulnerable to critics and more. Okay. So what are the impacts? The athletes could live an actually happy life. They could do their interests, right? They could do their interests more freely, right? And they're not going to be stuck in the same stuff, in the same cycle. They're not going to be stuck in the same system used by those companies, by the fans. Because you have to admit that fame is a very hard word. Having fame could really take a toll on your mental health, right? Depression is like you need it, right? So my conclusion is that we encourage athletes to stop at their feet, to not go ahead, to fight and play more.
Very much to the Prime Minister. Sorry. Wait, terang 30 minit. Stupid sikit sebab semua kami sikit. Sorry, terang 30 minit. Terima kasih. Okay, sorry for the distractions. Very, very good. Also, QI is allowed and is encouraged.
I would like to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think the other team has completely misunderstood what this debate is really about. However, rest assured, we as the opposition are here to save the day and provide you the best argument that actually matters and with that save this debate. There are two things that I will give to you in my speech, which is first the rebuttals and my stance. I'm sorry, by the way. But first, I would like to tell you our stance, which is we believe that stopping while they are ahead severely damage their career. So what do you mean with stop? So it's basically went ahead with our career, but and stop when our career is at its peak because of less popular or physically don't have the ability or skills to continue. Basically, when the attention towards you have died down. So what these athletes stop? It's because their mental health, because they want just to quit whatever sport they're doing, or spend time with their family. One, there are many pros when they're stopping, but we can't deny that it causes more harm than good. Which brings to my rebuttals. The government say they step away from the spotlight, but when you're you're just putting yourself toward the spotlight itself, considering you are quitting when you're at your peak, when all of the attention are at you, which brings to my first argument, which is if you're stopping while you're ahead, you gain a lot of media attention. People nowadays love drama. It is one of the most things that they always look forward to. So, because of at your peak career, everyone look at you, and suddenly you're stopping, and they were like, "Oh, why are you stopping?" And then they make speculation regarding why you stop. Oh, is it because of corruption? Is it because you have drama with the other teams, or your teammate, or do you just hate your coach and stuff like that? And people won't stop making rumors about you, your family, your loved one, your partner, your friends, and this could turn your biggest fans to your biggest haters because even your biggest fans could believe these rumors. And you don't necessarily have to be a bad person to get hated by because the media focus on sensationalism instead of the true facts. So why is this important? Because it could severely damage the athlete's mental health and also put their relationship with others to strain. Because you basically take lots of efforts and years to build a relationship, to build a connection with the other person. But your relationship faces the problem because of a petty rumor, an untrue rumor. And so to conclude, it isn't only affect you, but it also affect your loved one too. Yes?
Sorry, but you say that the rumors will damage the career, right? But rumors can be cleared. Rumors can be cleared by the government. The MCMC will help clear the rumors. Please explain.
So many rumors did you know that are being cleared? Because most of rumors that I basically saw the celebrity, the athlete, things doesn't go down easily. Even if it does, it will damage your mental health, your relationship with others because of the petty rumors. Yes.
Or does it matter if you can't see from when you start
Nice POI. So basically, when your fans hate you, you're basically probably you probably will be losing confidence in yourself because of the people that have trust on you, that support you, that loves you so much, suddenly turn against you. So doesn't that make you feel insecure? So back to the point, media won't stop interviewing you, your loved one, because of why are you quitting, why are you retiring, while you are at the peak of your career. So this means that you have less privacy. Your family gets less privacy. They will come to your house to um, interview your family. So even if you're quit because of you burn out, you don't even have the time to rest that you intended to. So is there any more?
So does the media die down one day?
Yes, the media will die down, but the possibility of media dying down soon. So it will probably take like 100 years for it to die down. So to summarize my speech, we believe that stopping while the athletes are at the peak of their career will gain a lot of media attention. And once again, I would like to repeat my stance, which is we believe that stopping while they are ahead will severely damage their career. With that, I end my speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Continue on with the debate by the Thank you.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Athletes is also a human being. They are not a tool to raise national fame or company's fame. I will now move to reiterating the context given by Khadija. Our status quo is today athletes are encouraged to play until they are old and not popular anymore by companies and the nation itself. So what's the problem with this status quo? It is a problem for the athletes because it will take a toll on their health. So how can we help these athletes? What is the solution to this problem? The solution is to encourage athletes to not be scared to quit when they are at the peak, or in other words, to stop when they are ahead. What is our burden? Our burden is to prove that stopping when they are ahead isn't a waste, but rather beneficial to them and to many more. I will now move towards my rebuttals because our leader of opposition had misunderstood the term of spotlight here. The term of bringing themselves out of the spotlight means that they are pushing the chances to appear off camera in camera playing for their nation. It's not pushing away attention from them. And they also say about people who make rumors that damages the carrier's athlete. Rumors could be cleared up, and rumors go down easily because people's attention spans for this generation are not long. You watch TikTok, for every 15 seconds you scroll down. People will not focus on one news only. If they find something other else that interests them, then they will simply move on. So, the government, the opposition also said about people turning away from you, fans turning away from you. And they say that people who love you the most will turn away from you. But I think that this is not true. How could a wife of an athlete turn away from him just from him stopping in ahead of his career, stopping in the peak of his career? That's literally impossible. I have never heard a case where a wife said, I want a divorce because you stopped at the peak of your career. That's literally impossible. Even if they stop, they still famous. They still have attention towards them. So I think that you are just giving exaggeration, and media dies down very quickly because, as I said earlier, people's attention span are really decreasing in this generation. I will now move towards my argument. I say that the motion said this house will stop while they are ahead. This means that athletes will stop at the peak of their career when they had won, for example, an international tournament. For example, Lee Vijay won the Denmark Open tournament. So, what is the benefit if we stop at the peak of the career? The benefit is it will maintain a good legacy towards the athlete career. For example, here are my reasons. If they stop while they are ahead, their careers will end in their peak, will end in their winning a tournament. It will help maintain a good story for the athlete while they started at the bottom and ended on the top. And it will give more inspiring stories towards younger generation and will born new athletes. So the impact is there will be more inspiring stories about the athlete. Their fame will rise, their income will rise from movies, from certain media. For example, media interviewing them. Interviews are not free. You have to pay to interview the people, so they will gain money from that. The second reason is it will help the athletes gain more money and fame. As I said again, if they are on top and they stop, it will help them gain more money and fame. People will be attracted to the stories. Why did they will be curious about the athlete. Why did they stop? Did they stop because of this? But if you said about rumors being spread, the athlete could just clarify it himself. By clarifying himself, you could clear the rumors away. You can just simply say, I stopped because I wanted to stop. I am tired of paying. That's all. My second argument that if we stop at the peak of our career, if we stop ahead, it also opens the path for younger athletes. My number one reason is athletes who is pressured, having to keep up with their fans' expectation will deteriorate. Their performance will decline, their career will decline. So if they stop at their peak, they will open chances for younger athletes. It will open chances for younger athletes to try in the international tournament, to learn, to have experience. If we just kept relying on that one core person all the time, wouldn't that make them tired? Wouldn't that make them feel exhausted? It will put problems to them, mental health problems, depression, stress. It will cause their performance to deteriorate so much that their fame will instantly decline. For example, our Malaysian athlete, INTERSABER, due to his performance declining after he gains the champion titles in the Denmark Open. Now, he posted depressing content in his Instagram feeds. So the impact is, what are the impacts of my argument? The impact is the well-being of the athlete is taken care of. My second impact is that it will also open chances for younger generation of the sport. For example, badminton. If Lee had quit, Lee Chong-wei hadn't quit at his peak, then if Lee Chong-wei had quit at his peak, and now Lee is here to substitute him, to continue his legacy of winning the Malaysian the Open tournament, international badminton tournament. And my third impact is now new talented and skilled athletes will be born. For example, the Lee earlier. So my conclusion is stopping early will not only be beneficial towards the athlete, but also be beneficial towards others. And now I rest my case.
Thank you very much. We now invite the affiliate.
Another benefit as contradictory as the movement, because they claim that the current industry is oppressing athletes, making them stressed, depressed, but they expect these athletes to continue other practices that can also make them stressed and depressed. Now, before that, two things I'll be doing today. Firstly is to provide my rebuttal to the government's main arguments, and secondly, my argument is to provide my case. Now, let's look at a lot actually, rebuttals towards government ban. Now, firstly, they said that rumors can easily be cleared out because the government can make statements, the athletes can make statements. However, that doesn't mean that these statements will completely clear the problem. Why? Because firstly, if an athlete themselves make a statement, then people only see it as, oh, they're just trying to clear the name, or they're just trying to criticize the but from that. Do you think people actually criticizing them even more? And leading them to become even more depressed and they actually even worse.
So it's better to not give people a cost to even start with in the first place, rather than try to control women, because we know just how hard women are to control. And secondly, they say that people's attention spans are too low for them to even remember this sort of stuff. However, maybe the media's attention, and maybe people who watch media's attention spans are low, but that the companies or people who fund their campaigns and stuff don't remember the sort of rumors and impact it has on their reputation. Meaning that, yes, maybe it doesn't have an impact on how the masses see them, but it will have an impact on their career nonetheless. And other than that, they also said that the government can make statements towards towards these movements. But understand that there's a very low chance of the government or actually doing this because government has tried to argue that by leaving early at the end of your career, then you're actually going against companies that oppress these sort of athletes. But what by doing this, you're actually incentivizing the government and companies to actually not support you. For example, when Malaysia left the badminton administration, Malaysia did no effort whatsoever to actually clear up the rumors or actually protect its reputation. Meaning that you are not only giving these athletes on their own, but then you're not giving them the necessary support and putting them in the spotlight that can actually damage their career. And I understand that sport, what we mean by spotlight, it's not just being in the media regarding sports, but it also means interviews and stuff like that. Basically, being under the spotlight means being under attention. Therefore, that's why I believe that it's better for athletes to stop when their popularity has declined, or when they don't exactly have the physical capability to actually play anymore. And if I can give an example of each on-base topic, however, I understand that this example is not only irrelevant, but it actually supports athletes. Because these on-base stop when you no longer had the physical capability to play. And that's why Ninja was able to get this spotlight. It's not because he did not start at the peak of his career. He stopped because he didn't have the means to compete with us. Now I'll be moving on to my argument, which is there are too many ways which can harm these athletes. But firstly, so the government has tried to argue that there are basically three main reasons why athletes stop. Firstly, because they're burned out. Secondly, because they want to focus more on their families, and thirdly, because it enables them to try new things. However, by living at the peak of your career, it only like this stable these athletes are actually achieving any of that and actually living a peaceful and normal life as they try. So, back to my argument. So, why is it or what? Yes.
Are you saying that being under constant pressure is more happy than living a happy life with your family or doing business, something like that?
I never said that being under constant pressure is actually better than living a happy life with your family. But I understand that when you live at the peak of your career, you're actually putting more pressure on these athletes. Because, oh god. Anyways, back to my argument. Because, so basically, there are two things that an athlete can do if you start in the middle of their career. They can either plan on going back to play sports, or they can start an entirely new business. But it's very hard for them to achieve this one because if they want to go back to sports, they have to gain the approval of the companies that they've tried to protest against, which is very hard because they've already went against them. What makes you think that these companies want them back? And secondly, it's hard for them to start a new business and such because they still have to got their reputation. And when because with the reputation of organizations, therefore it takes a lot of effort to actually clear their name back. So that people can actually buy the product they're trying to sell, the business, they just feel that they're trying to get in. And if we see that athletes can try find employment in other sectors, what makes you think that these companies would want to hire someone these companies want to hire someone with a reputation? Now, I understand that because of this, it leads to these athletes having an unstable income. In that case, maybe they do get thousands from winning a competition, but that doesn't mean that those thousands are enough to sustain you for the rest of your life. That doesn't mean that it's enough to support your family. So this just proves that it will actually make athletes even more self-valuing. It will actually make these athletes more pressured and more stressed, and this stress will also affect their family. So government has tried to say that, oh, no one will leave the husband because they stop in the middle of the career. Yes, they don't leave because in the middle of their career, they face more pressure from the media, from people around them, the rumors, everything. It not only affects the husband, but also the wife. That leads to strain in the relationship, leaving the wife to actually maybe potentially leave the husband. So it's not, yes, it's not leaving in the middle of your career that causes your wife to leave you, but it's the indirect pressure that you face from the decisions that you make. And then as an athlete, you have to consider not only yourself but your family as well, and also your reputation because of the sheer impact that you have towards masses. So government has tried to argue that you can inspire new athletes to become just like you, but you also have to repeat the same cycle of putting athletes under pressure instead of actually addressing the real issue. Why are we putting so much pressure on athletes? Why aren't we improving the system? And why aren't we actually making a change in the world? You're answering the wrong questions here, which we on the side of the house already addressed. So, for that, and your eyes?
What's
So before I end my speech, I didn't why we need to do this because firstly, we've indeed missed all the points made by opening government. We provided substantial proof and argument to support our argument, and we dealt with the best and worst case scenario from our government bench. And with that, I think that we should really disagree. And whatever closing government is, closing opposition has to say, it's really just a repetition of our points, or basically this point are addressed by the debate. With that, I end my speech. Never probably go opposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lida, for the issue. Before we move on, I'm very reminded, number one, you have 7 minutes and 60 seconds. QI only between the after the first minute and before the 6 minutes. And yes, please do not badger. The rules of QI is effective for intervals of 30 seconds. If you were rejected, please will continue to the okay, that other meeting now you guys will be closing members of the meeting.
I understand panels that right now, as the government side, we are trying to become better by stopping while we are ahead, which means we are trying to have a better life basically. Now, as the member of government, our duty is first give out the opposition, second give out our case of side, and lastly our argumentations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at what the opposition side say. Now, now their arguments are talking about media attention, all about media attention. Ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that these media attentions won't last long. So it won't be a really big problem. And second, there are untrue rumors because the athletes didn't clarify. So we say when we stop while we are ahead, we will clarify why we are doing this because we want a better life. We want a better life. Ladies and gentlemen. Now the opposition side keep saying that at least they stop while they are ahead will have a bad reputation. We say that it is just an assumption because, ladies and gentlemen, what's the proof that all athletes that stop have bad reputations? We say there are no proof from the opposition side. So their case is really weak into this debate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as the closing comments, our case of side is that we say this house will stop while they are ahead. We say by stop, it means that you are stopped to reaching higher and reaching higher fame when you are already old and already have the fame. For example, Cristiano Ronaldo, which is Ronaldo is already old and he's already have the fame. Now, in today's debate, I, as the member of government, will bring wide arguments under the keywords of sustainability. Now, as sustainability, we'll talk about three things. First, health risk. Second, money. And third, multiple career. Ladies and gentlemen, understand that when we stop while we are ahead, we have many more sustainability. Why? Because we say that when we are trying to reach higher, we are just pushing ourselves, and it could lead to exploitation. It could give us stress, because we are spread to chase that higher success, to get that higher fame, ladies and gentlemen. So it is better for us to stop while we are ahead, because first we'll talk about sustainability of health risk. Ladies and gentlemen, understand that when we talk about athletes, we talk about sports. And when we talk about sports, there are many risks of injury. For example, athletes of Muay Thai, athletes of rugby. So when we try to reach higher, the risk of injury is getting bigger, and it is bad for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. So we say, ladies and gentlemen, would you prefer to stay with the friend that you already have and be comfort, or trying to reach higher fame, but also risking your own life, ladies and gentlemen? We see that athletes such as Muay Thai, such as rugby, ladies and gentlemen, we have higher health risk. There are chances that we will break our bones, ladies and gentlemen. So when we have this permanent injury, it is bad for our lives, and we could also not continue our career on this sport, ladies and gentlemen. So to have a better life, we say you just stay on what are the best, what we already have, instead of trying to reach higher and trying to get more fame. So we say that right now we are already at the peak. We're already at the peak of our career. So it is already good for us. We already have the fame. We already have the money, ladies and gentlemen. So we say that by reaching higher, it's like being selfish and not looking at the bad consequences, ladies and gentlemen. Second, we talk about money, ladies and gentlemen. We say that in today's status quo, 40% of athletes struggle. 40% of athletes have money problems. Why? Because we say that when we reach higher, yes.
Where is this data coming from? Please clarify.
So we say that we get this data from the sports industry. So ladies and gentlemen, we say that when we reach higher, when we get higher fame, of course the company needs to pay us more and more bonus and more money. So we say right now that in today's status quo, there are many companies that cannot afford to pay. For example, we say that Maradona, a football player, in his career, there are cases where he had problems because the company couldn't afford to pay the bonus money, ladies and gentlemen. So what's the point of getting higher without getting what without getting the money that we deserve, ladies and gentlemen? So we say that it is better for us to just stay on what we already have instead of trying to reach higher. So third, we'll talk about how we have a multiple career opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. So when we stay in this situation and what we already have, we could find another sub career where we got extra and money instead of trying to reach a higher fame to get more money on the sport. So we say that it is better for us to stay on what we already have and get another extra income from other careers, which is a guarantee that we will get the money instead of what I said earlier, where the companies cannot afford to pay. So that's why we believe that we, as an athlete, will stop while we are ahead, because it is better, it is more sustainable in terms of health risk, in terms of money, and we could also find another income in another careers, ladies and gentlemen. So we say that to summarize our case, we, the government side, have given out to why we should stop while we are ahead, and we say that this motion should stand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much and welcome to Wait for closing of the decision and
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Right. Now, we've seen that each side of this debate is you will see that each side of this house is actually failing to grasp on what we are trying to debate today. Now, the motion for today's debate is this house would stop when they're ahead, with the context being athletes stopping when they're ahead is basically stopping at the peak of their career. Now, what they all fail to understand is that athletes here refer to all levels of athletes, be it semi-professional, professional, to work intending, or even student athletes. That is what we're trying to debate here. Now, before, I would like to divide my speech into 3 parts. The first part being the reframing of what we're trying to debate today. Second is the rebuttals of the government side, both opening and closing. And the third here is my main points and our strengthening. First of all, what I'm trying to reframe here is that, yes, we are debating about athletes in all types of sports, be like the closing government said, be Muay Thai, boxing, football, or even badminton. But what they all fail to add here is that we are referring to all levels of athletes, semi-professional, professional, and those world-class athletes. Now, that is the reframing. Second, I would like to move on to my rebuttals. Now, what I noticed is that both the opening and closing governments provided similar points and repetitively accentuating on the same points. For example, closing government accentuated on sustainability. Now, they highlighted that when we stop at our peak, we also open up opportunities for multiple careers. We will stop exploitation and so on. Well, first of all, we athletes, we are already professional. We all are, let's say for the professional and world-class athletes, we already have the fame, we already have the money. We can also do that side gig or side business on the side when we're still competing professionally. Who's to say that? Say for Ronaldo, he is already at the top of his although he's old, he's still kicking. You could say that he's still at his peak. And he's also having multiple businesses on his side to support his income. That's why he's a billionaire. Now, moving over to my next rebuttal, it says that this will dampen our health and this we risk injuring ourselves and to make us not able to compete. Well, first of all, of course we want to continue competing at our peak. When we take that risk, taking the risk is what makes us great. Is what solidifies the legacy of an athlete. If we stop taking the risk, people will say that, oh, he's a coward for not even trying to push themselves. Well, you could argue that, oh, well, but it's important for my health. Well, who's to say that when you stop doing what you love, the passion for what you want to do, the sports that you're intending for, you would no longer have that drive. No, that drive is killed because you don't want to chase something and take risks. Because it is better for us to survive to tell the tale that we've already competed before. Now, allow me to get into my first point.
So I think that it is better for us to stay in the career, even though it is deteriorating our performance, deteriorating our mental health is being affected.
Right, thank you for the good point. I'm not implying that we are deteriorating our performance. I'm saying that we, as an athlete, a professional athlete, that on world-class levels, we should continue because it solidifies our legacy. It's more important than just quitting out early, especially when there's more to chase. Now, allow me to get into my first argument, that being the limiting potential of what we can do. Now, the reasoning for this is that when we're competing at our peak, there are still a lot more to chase. We do not know if that, we have already reached that level of peak. When we can say that, we've won multiple international challenges, national championships, but there is still much more to chase. For example, like you could say state levels. Now there's forward level and also the student level athletes. Why? Hence, we limit ourselves or the athletes from ever achieving more in what we're trying to do. And even if and there's so that an example of this for, let's say, the normal athletes, the student athletes, when we stop at what we're doing, let's say for your high school student as high school athlete, we stop at simply saying that we were at the peak, we won multiple competitions. But we're still at school, there's much more to chase, and we can chase it at a higher level. Moving over to my second argument is that it will impact our social status, especially social status here. When we stop at our peak, we tend to get multiple comments and drama from the general public saying that one is quitting early, because it would make us see that we do not want to chase our dreams and our passion is killed. You could say that, oh well, it's like, or you might have mental health issues, but that is in what today's scope is that it does not pose, although relevant, it does not pose that much of importance to why we should stop at that high level. Now, to sum up my argument, we...
Right.
Yes, please.
I think I've said it in an area, but I think that rumors can be cleared by the government itself or by the athlete clarifying with them itself. So I think that this.
Alright, rumors can be caught by you said the government, right? But how much of the rumors can be caught? Not everything. Still, there will be whispers and back talk even from other aspects, be it social media or even live talk to talk or physical talk. Now, to sum up my argument, we as the athletes here, being the semi-professional, is the athletes should not stop competing even while at their peak, because it is important. Why? Because for one, it solidifies our legacy, it provides a constant boost of status, both economically and social. And finally, it also explores our potential deeply, because at our peak, you could say at that potential peak, it could be when we are young or when we are old, there is still much more to chase, and the human boundary is not really limited. Now, we as the opposition team, as the closing opposition team, would like to state again and again that we disagree with the motion that this House would stop even while they're ahead. And now that I rest my case.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to the honorable active principal, the recent opponents, and my teammates. Now, I would like to first tell the story of Icarus, who flew too close to the sky and noted down his wings. Icarus, he could fly, and then he aimed for more. He aimed higher. He aimed for the sun, and when he aimed for the sun, his wax wings melted, and then he fell into the sea and died. Now, how I would like to tie this back to the debate is that this house will stop at while they're ahead. What we mean by this, what the closing government means by this, is that we want them to stop when they're old, when they're retired. Of course. Now, but before that, I would like to structure my debate by putting on the rebuttals, supporting my team's case, and summarizing why we should win. Now, my first rebuttal is to the opposition side as a whole. The opposition side has said that when they are quitting from their sport, what is to say that they will lose their passion, they will lose their drive. But who's to say that the athletes only have one drive? What's to say that sport is their only passion? What is to say that sport is their only drive? Why the opposition side has failed to explain why only that sport can bring them motivation, only that sport can bring them passion. Also, the opposition has also said about rumors about social media. Well, the government has been offering solutions to all this, which we have been seen by the clarity of by the statement by the athlete. who stop what at the peak of their career. Also, the closing government does not understand what we all grasp. The closing government talks about how athletes refer to students, to semi-professional, to professional. While all we're talking about is the professionals. But also, they also contradicted their own definition by only talking about the professionals. While only saying about the while mainly talking about the professionals, while not even speaking about the student level competition. Also, we can argue that the students who are at the top of their career are also can be counted as being ahead because they can still be counted as a at a low level in terms of their skills and abilities. Also, the opposite side, they talk about rumors and how rumors will damage their life. But why should athletes care about the rumors? Of course, it's from the why should athletes care about the rumors? Why? That's why I want to ask the opposition. Of course, it grabs bad media to them and bad attention. But who's to say that the attention is who's to say that the attention must affect their life? Why? Of course, they talk about how even though they clarified the rumors were not spread, but they clearly do not check social media much because if the mechanism is to encourage the athlete to stop their head. We can just say that the athlete can just say that they're too old, they can't do it because they have passion for other things. That's why the rumors will go down. Okay. Also, moving forward. The government has been pressing about they're encouraging to stop while they're ahead when they're old, when they are old, when they don't have the ability. They're not telling them to stop when you are young, stop while you still have the skills and ability. We are saying that when they're old, because we want to spare them from the stress. We don't want to provide them an early death. Which ties back to my team response, which talks about the medical risk of continuing to be in sport. Because when we see that, because when you continue to be in a sport while you're old, it makes the risk much more higher. Would you rather a famous but dead athlete rather than an alive but an alive one? That is what we want to ask to that is what we want to prove to the opposite team. Also, now I will be supporting my team case. My team case is sustainability of how economics of how the money is enough, how if we stop while we're ahead, we will avoid the medical risk. Okay, let me just see. The opposite side has been talking about how athletes who quit while they're ahead will have a better reputation. While the member of government has said that they do not have any proof whether the people who quit while they're ahead have a better reputation. And they also said that who want to hire an athlete with a bad reputation who quit while they're ahead. My counter to that is that why shouldn't they? Because if they have an athlete if they have a famous athlete who was at the peak, it would obviously garner attention. That is why they would hire them. If not for their attention, it would also be for their skills. Because who's to say that the athlete is only skilled in sports? Who's to say the opposite side is only stating that the athletes are only that athletes. They cannot be. They can't exercise for this thing. They can't do anything. But they're only athletes, only good at the sport that's talking about. And with that, I will not be explaining why we mistake. The opposing government has been counted all the arguments by the opposition, and we believe that that we made a solid case, and that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Government. Now we will do the first round of IPC competition.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Now, why stop early when you can achieve more greatness? Assalamualaikum. I, as the whip of the closing opposition, I will start my speech with the rebuttal. Now, the government side argued that by continuing their career as an athlete would risk their health. My argument is that taking risks is what made athletes great. If Messi cannot play because he has growth disorder, Ronaldo won't play because he has a heart disease, they will not be who they are today. Their legacy will just rely on what their legacy will not be like today. Now, to my second rebuttal, the government side failed to consider if their bid is not enough. They only consider the high-level athlete, the surface-level athlete, Lee Zijia, Ronaldo, or Lee Chong-wei, but not Sumaren or Christian Pulisic. Have you even heard of them? No, but they are still professional athletes. They are still athletes. Now, by you implying that they should retire when they are at the peak, when their peak is not enough, will be the reason why they will kill their own career. To my next rebuttal, athletes doesn't know when is their peak. When the government side implied that they should retire at their peak, but how does an athlete know that is their peak? By retiring early, they will kill their potential growth. As an analogy, a student stopping after SPM because he had 9A+. Now, does that mean that he achieved everything? No, it's just SPM. They could achieve more. No. Now, to my next part of my speech, I will be strengthening my opposition side and prove why our table is winning. Now, to my first, to the member of the opposition argument, he has stated that by athletes retiring early, they will limit their potential. And this, we can see this happening everywhere in sport. Let's say an athlete won a prize. Let's say an athlete won a trophy and etc. Then he will achieve more, and he can achieve more. Now, to my next point, and to the next part of my strengthening. Now, athletes peak at the age between 20 to 30. Let's say they retire at 25. Athlete will need to consider that they still have years to go. Now, that would mean that they will not have source of income. Now, the government stated that, oh yes, they would go to interviews and interviews will pay them. But we need to consider that this is just a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Let's say the athlete peak when he is at the age of 25. Why would when he peak he said that this will cause a lot of publicity towards him. Now, let's say when he's 50, let's say when he's 60, why should he get interviewed when he himself, when he is not relevant anymore, when he does not have any publicity? We need to consider that athletes that because the government side is talking so much about athletes that are in high level, so let's consider that athletes that are in high level invested themselves so much. So when they have invested themselves so much into one sport and one category of sport, then why would that? Because the government has stated that, oh sure, they can go to other sector of economy. Now, they will not be able to be profitable in those categories. Toward my next part of my speech, I will be providing a comparison while the closing opposition, wins today's debate. Now, our points are idealistic and realistic and consider all scope of athletes, while the government only considers athletes that are on the surface level, right? Only giving examples of Lee Zijia or Lee Chong-wei, but not those who but not those athletes that might have been but not known enough. Yes, please.
Why are you equalizing the school level kid who just passed SPM and get 19 with an international level athlete who just been in world tournament?
The SPM kit was served as an analogy to my argument. Now, we are not equalizing their career, but we need to consider that they are still an athlete. We need to consider all scopes of athlete in today's debate. Now, to my conclusion, in conclusion, if Usain Bolt stopped when he is ahead of a race, what then? Would he have set up the world record? Absolutely no. So again, I would like to repeat, why stop early when you can achieve more greatness? And with that, I raise my
Thank you very much for this debate. And at the end of the round, what will happen is that the debaters and the audience have to step out for around 10 minutes, and we will call you back in when we're ready. Thank you. You can leave your stuff. Let's wait outside. Is that pause?
Belum lagi.
Pause. Click pause. I think the division tak payah record lah. That's the
Intro.